Some cameras aren't just tools. They're invitations to see, to slow down, to capture moments that would have been forgotten. This isn't a review about specs. It's a conversation about a camera that makes me want to go outside and just shoot. No pressure, no setups, just pure storytelling. I've shot on a lot of cameras. Sony, Canon. I'm shooting on the Canon C80 right now. Video coming soon. I've even shot videos on my iPhone. But this camera, the Fujifilm X100VI, is something different. There are a lot of shipping delays with the Fujifilm X100VI right now. I ordered this camera in February of 2024, and I didn't get this camera till January 2025. It took a whole year. And still, if you're trying to get one today, they're still back ordered. This is the second version of this camera that I'm owning. I owned the predecessor, the Fujifilm X100VI. This was 2 years ago when I was making my very first photo collection, Inspiration. Now, even though this is not a review, if you're here for the specs, this Fujifilm X100VI has 40 megapixels. It's a 40 megapixel APS-C sensor versus the Fujifilm X100VI that was, I think, a 26 megapixel APS-C sensor. Now, this version has IBIS, which means in-body image stabilization. And because of the in-body image stabilization, you're able to take more pictures at lower shutter speeds. That means you don't have to crank your ISO too much. Even though I really like that about the Fujifilm X100VI, because when you crank the ISO, you get that grain on the footage, which makes it mimic pictures that we're taking with a film camera, which I thought was the whole point of why everyone loved the Fujifilm X100VI. Now, the way I use this camera is very interesting. I have my shutter speed set to auto, I have my ISO set to auto, and sometimes I either pick a particular aperture between like f4 to f5.6, or I just set it on auto. I use it as what I think the camera was meant for, an enthusiast. Point and shoot. One of the really cool things about it is that it has a built-in lens. This is a 23mm lens, so 35mm full frame equivalent because it's an APS-C sensor. So I started my journey as a photographer in 2011, and in 2016 I moved to America to study film at the New York Film Academy, and there I was able to make my very first short film, got accepted into festivals and won a couple of awards. Fast forward to 2020, I became obsessed with content creation, and since then I've built my creative support agency, A Random Creative, where we help brands scale with storytelling that works for YouTube and social. Unfortunately, I sold my Fujifilm X100VI right after making my very first collection. Before I bought that camera, I was looking for a camera that I could use to capture moments, right? Because I was making the collection, but I was also shooting a documentary alongside it. And it was really important for me to just capture the moment. I didn't want to pressure the people that I was taking pictures of. I didn't want to make it feel like a thing, because the entire theme was inspiration. So I just wanted to capture the fact that these people have inspired my journey over the past 10 years. That was all I wanted to capture. That's why the Fujifilm X100VI had a special place in my heart. And I remember when I wanted to buy that camera, I had gone online to research like what camera do I use. One of my options was the Ricoh GR3, and then the second option was the Fujifilm X100VI. And when I tried to buy it, it wasn't available. So I called up B&H and I asked them, hey, do you have this camera in stock? They're like, no. I placed an order, and about 2 months after I placed my order, and about 2 weeks before I was supposed to travel to LA to start filming, they called me and they were like, hey, we have one in stock. I paid $1,300, $1,399 for that camera because I have a student discount, so it was about $1,299. That was what I paid for the Fujifilm X100VI. And this was in 2023, where prices were going up to like $2,000. Even the Fujifilm X100VI, like this camera, honestly, if you want to get this camera right now, I bought this camera for, I think, $14.99 because I have the student discount with B&H. But this camera goes for almost $2,000 plus right now. And I'm so glad I was able to capture this, even though I waited for a year. But I waited for a year because I knew what exactly this camera was and how special it was to me. Now, unfortunately, I ended up selling my Fujifilm X100VI. In today's age, we're so obsessed with buying the latest, greatest gear, right? Like we always want the next thing. But I remember how the Fujifilm X100VI made me feel. Because photography or storytelling isn't just about capturing images. It's about noticing. And this was the first time that a camera really made me notice more. Now, this is the first photo in my collection. And this photo is called Resilient. And this is by a really good friend of mine, Drea Okeke. Drea knows best. Tomorrow is actually her birthday, and if you're watching this video, happy birthday, Drea. Let's wish Drea happy birthday in the comments. But one thing I really love about this photo, we captured this photo around like 5:30 p.m. This was with the Fujifilm X100VI. I literally didn't care about what film simulation I used. All I wanted to do was to capture her reflection. So I brought a mirror. I went to a Walmart, I picked up a mirror, and we brought the mirror, and I wanted her to look at the mirror. Because what I wanted to capture was the reflection, because I feel like a lot of times we never really see ourselves. And Drea is someone who is so bold and is so steadfast, and she's so resilient. And when I thought about the word resilient and thought about what it meant to this collection and what it meant to myself, to someone who is a creator, to someone who, sees their life and wants something for themselves, but realizes that they have to keep going and they have to be strong, even though everything else tells them no. That's one thing that I really love about this photo. And if you look at her and you look at the way she sees herself, the expression of the person behind the mirror and the person in front of the mirror, it just makes for a really interesting image. Now, this image, it didn't matter if we use flash or not. It didn't matter, what aperture it was on. It didn't matter what film simulation. All that matters is that I could point the camera at her, have her look into the mirror, and just shoot. And this is why I love the Fujifilm X100. Even though I think this can be achieved with any other camera, that's one of the reasons why I love it. When I received the Fujifilm X100VI, the first thing I noticed was that it felt the same. It was pretty much like the same camera. It's not the same camera, but it really could be the same camera. It has the same body, the same lens, a different sensor, but some could debate that they prefer a 26 megapixel than a 40 megapixel sensor. To be honest, I can't even tell the difference. But what's better about this camera is that it disappears in your hands. IBIS helps, but more than that, it's still a regular point and shoot, and it just lets me focus on the shot. You get to capture a moment, maybe a stranger laughing, a friend, life. Now, this second photo from the collection is called Do It Afraid. And the muse in this photo is Sofiat Ibrahim, a very good friend and client of mine. She's known as the Oddity. The backstory to this is insane because even though this is coined Do It Afraid, she's someone who knows how to swim, so safety first. But she's extremely afraid of the ocean. So we went to Santa Monica Beach and I was like, hey, I think I want you to walk into the ocean. I want you to face that fear. Because a lot of times, as people, we're afraid. But what if you did it afraid? Because I think fear sometimes isn't a bad thing. It's okay to be anxious. It's okay to be afraid of the thing that you're about to do. Sometimes, the bigger the fear, the bigger the outcome. Again, safety first. But I really love this photo because it just captures someone who is willing to continue to evolve in their career, to build yourself, is willing to continue to do it afraid. I really love this photo. It's one of the best ones that I have from the collection. I love every single one, but this one has a lot of story in it. And this next photo is called Vision. The muse, Sofiat Ibrahim, the Oddity. One thing I love about this photo is it's just a testament to what this camera is. Now, this photo, we had finished taking the very first shot, the last one that I showed you, and we're walking out of Santa Monica Pier, and the sun is setting, and I just noticed this glow, and I just decided to take the camera, and I pointed it and shoot. I'm not gonna lie to you and say this was a technical shot, or I reduced the aperture. No, it's a backlit shot. The aperture is on auto, the shutter speed is on auto, the ISO is on auto. The camera looks at that and exposes for the sun. And we have this beautiful image of light passing through her eyes to the back of her head. And I love that image so much because when you think about someone who's a visionary, someone who pushes boundaries, we think about the brain, we think about how sophisticated the brain is. And I love art, right? I love art and I love storytelling, and I love how I could just tell you a lot about a photo that I took, and you might see something different. You might see something completely different. But this is what I saw. I saw someone who has a vision. I saw someone who is human, and I saw how vision and how our visions for our future can really come to reality if we just stay inspired and continue to do it afraid and stay resilient. Do you see where I'm going with this? Now, the philosophy of shooting with a fixed lens, because you can't zoom, can't swap lenses. Some might say that's a limitation, but I personally think that's freedom. Sometimes, like, when you're thinking too much about, like, should I use a 16mm or should I use a 50mm? Should I use an 85mm or should I use a 200mm? Maybe a 35. Sometimes that's too complicated, especially when you're approaching a project with pure artistic intent. Now, I'm not saying take just a 35mm to a wedding. This is not what this channel is for. This channel is for creators. It's for people who just want to feel better with their art and grow. Now, if you look at the images in my collection, none of them look the same, but it was shot with the exact same lens, because depth and how you consider your artistry is extremely subjective. Now, this next photo is called A New Garden. And the muse here is Shalom Black, another friend and client of mine. And you can see in this photo that she's pregnant. And she's pregnant in this shot. And I call this A New Garden because her son's name is Garden. What a beautiful name. And this was shot in her home. I made a documentary on her. I've made a lot of documentaries on this channel, so if you're interested in watching documentaries, definitely subscribe. And if you want to meet a lot of people who are part of this collection, I have made individual videos and I've posted them on the channel. I really love this photo because this photo was taken in her baby nursery that she was building for her first child. And the idea of someone who could bring, like, I'm young, I'm 28, right? I don't have a child, but I have friends who are having children, and the experience that I'm having through them of myself wanting to possibly bring a child into this world very soon is so interesting to me. And 2 years ago when I shot this, I was like, I love this image so much, right? Because we capture her in the nursery looking at what is to come, because the baby is not here yet. I am so glad that the baby arrived safely, and he's already like almost, I think, a year and a half right now, which is super cool. I think technology has gotten super good that the more restriction you place on yourself, the more you're forced to move. And I think that's what storytelling is about, is making yourself uncomfortable. Because when you're uncomfortable, the best art comes out. I think about the short films that I made. I think about the over 100 music videos that I've directed. I think about all the photos that I've ever taken. I felt so uncomfortable in those moments. Even right now, filming this video, this is uncomfortable because I'm sharing a side of myself that I don't think I've really put on the internet. Just me as a pure artist, someone who really, loves gadgets and loves photos and loves films and moving pictures. This is not something that I've always shown. So even this is uncomfortable. And there's no right way of presenting your art to the world. So if you're enjoying videos like this, definitely let me know in the comments. And I hope you give this video a like. Now, this next photo is called Stars Align. And I love this photo so much because this is my best friend Emmanuel, and he had just gotten into becoming a DJ. And I thought it was super cool to capture because he's someone who has always tried to find the fun in everything that he does. Like, he's an entrepreneur, he's a project manager, he's an analyst, and he's always trying to, do something new. And this picture was a really good capture because we were able to capture the stars, and we're also able to capture a quarter moon, but also him looking at the moon with hope and holding that DJ set. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this photo is manipulated a little bit. I'm not gonna tell you what exactly is manipulated. If you can figure it out, you can figure it out. Now, the next one here is alignment. And this is another muse, Neoma Nkori, goes by as told by Neoma, another friend and client of mine. And this was a moment where she was getting her first tattoo. And alignment was super important and right for this photo because she's someone who not only is willing to get alignment on her hand as her very first tattoo, but she would not do anything if it doesn't feel aligned to her core. and align to her journey. And I want to use this as a moment to just remind you, if you're a creator, if you're someone who you want to create or you want to make something, it's very easy to look at someone else's vision and think that's your vision. But I want you to remember that if you feel it in your core, if you feel it in your gut, that this is what I'm supposed to create, if you feel aligned with the thing that you're about to create, I promise you, that's probably what you should be doing. So don't let any other person talk you out of it. You probably notice a theme here. A lot of these photos are very off the moment. That's why I love this camera. Now, this next photo is called a part of my community. And this is another interesting photo that I like because I got the opportunity to surprise my parents with a picnic. My younger sister is holding a phone with my parents on FaceTime. The fact that I get to tell stories like this. You know, I live here with two of my sisters, but the fact that I can stay connected through a piece like this, and the fact that I get to celebrate my parents on their 35th year anniversary is something that is really special. And it all came together through one tool: the love for a camera, the love for capturing the right moment. Is the Fujifilm X100VI a perfect camera? No. That's not why I got it. It's not about the megapixels or the autofocus speeds. It's about how it makes me feel when I'm out there just documenting. The fact that I can see something, think about it, pick up the camera and just shoot. And to be honest, this is something you can also do with your iPhone. Now, this next photo, part of my collection, but was taken with my iPhone 15 Pro. Now, if I showed you this photo and told you that this photo was taken with the Fujifilm X100VI, you would have said, sure. But this is a photo of my big sister in her library in her apartment. And I call this a whole being because she has a podcast called A Whole Being. And the idea of a whole being is we are a being that has been put into the ground and like that was planted and has sprouted and has grown and has started yielding more fruit. We're not perfect. The weather affects us. We have our individual journeys. But like ultimately we're here to grow. And one day we're not going to be here anymore. But just remembering that you're a whole person. And the fact that you exist and you have all the different components that make you you is super important. And that's something that shouldn't be taken for granted. Her looking into the light, the abyss, in a room filled with books that represent who she is just something that is extremely special. I'm curious, what tools make you see the world differently? It doesn't have to be a camera. It could be a notebook, a sketch pad, or even just your phone. Drop a comment below. I would love to know that. I hope this video helped you. I hope this video made you feel different, made you feel like you could be a part of something, that you could create something, you could go out and you could just grow. This is my intention for making videos like this. I feel like I'm evolving as an artist and I'm super blessed and super grateful because at the end of the day, the best camera is the one that makes you excited to create. And for me, right now, that is the Fujifilm X100VI. Is there a new collection coming? I guess you find out. If you like this video, please subscribe to the channel and I'll see you in the next one.